Hello, welcome to Paving Paradise, a podcast dedicated to the asphalt paving industry. I'm one of your hosts, Justin Rodriguez, and I'm joined with my co-host,
Scott Ramsey.
And today we have a special episode, and I think it was mostly Scott's drive. He got touched. We got a letter, an email from one of our viewers, and we feel humbled by that. Thank you guys for writing into us. And Scott really wanted to dive into it. It was a long email, and we wanted to just kind of drill into it and answer some of the questions to the best of our abilities.
Well, thank you, Brian from Oregon. And yeah, he sent an email in, and as I read the email, Shane asked me, he's like, hey, how do we want to respond? So I read the email, and early in the morning, I was ready to fire off a response. And then as I read the email and then I read it again, I thought, well, you know what? These are a lot of good things that Brian brings up, a lot of good questions that I'm sure 1,000 other people would want answers to.
Yeah.
I know I sure would have wanted answers to these, 30 years ago.
Right.
And I thought, well, we could surely make a whole podcast out of all these great questions that Brian asked. So
yeah, it's
anyway,
good. Here we are.
You wanted to talk about the raking episode.
And then so other people have written into us. I think it was on Instagram or was another email. A gentleman said, hey, I really like your podcast. I enjoy watching it, but I wanted to learn about raking technique, which is kind of a challenging thing to learn, I think, in this business, because it's kind of an art form to a certain degree. Yeah. So we want to do that, but that's going to take time to go out there and film it. We got to schedule a job to go look at, have Shane come out and record it, and then we could do a voiceover on it.
Correct.
I think that's a really good topic to talk about, raking, and we want to do that, but we want to do it outside of the studio. It's not just it'd be kind of boring to talk about it. I mean, we could find a video or something. But
we could talk about it, but I mean, it would be when we're talking about joint construction, or we've talked about in our paving episode, I hammered on building a pad for the paver, the takeoff pad for the paver to sit down on. I could say it 1,000 times, but a picture's worth 1,000 words, and until you guys see it firsthand, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. Yeah. So yeah, you're 100% correct. We got to get out there, build a couple pads, rake some joints, and then you guys as technique. And the do's and the don'ts, because as when I was learning this business, I always thought, hey, the paver makes one pass, makes another pass, and you just rake that joint. Well, I had an old timer that taught me early on when I didn't even know how to rake, and I was still on the end of a shovel. He said, hey, you can rake a joint too low. And I was like, what do you mean you can rake? Because in my mind, I always thought about it, you raking it too high.
Right.
He says, no, I mean, if, the paver goes by and, you over rake it, and then now you have a dip.
Yep.
So
that's a good topic. And as you can see, we could go off into a tangent raking.
We already
that's
did.
Not what we're here for.
We already did it.
That's not what we're here for.
Right.
But this is kind of why we did this podcast. Yeah. So we can answer questions for people just starting out. Correct. Property owners, homeowners, other contractors.
I mean, Brian hit it. You hit it. Thank you, Brian, for this. You hit a lot of great topics, and we're going to run. Some of them will probably run through quicker than others. But, the one thing I wanted to say, Brian brought up a good point. As the people that aren't viewing and they're only listening to these on podcasts, we apologize about the audio, and Shane's working on that. So
we can set up a Facebook page and or something like that, and hopefully put pictures or something on there.
Brian just mentioned to me in an email that you
can always watch it on YouTube.
You can always watch it on YouTube. Well, he's some of these guys are driving to work and they're listening to it. So he didn't say it was horrific. He just said that was part that we could improve on. So which, we're trying to improve on all of this for you guys.
And we're just starting out. This is a new thing. We don't have all the best equipment. We were doing this as
we're in an office.
We're
in an office that's painted half black. I mean, what?
And what we're doing, we're just starting this it's really, we just have one little shotgun mic, and we don't have we don't even wear headphones. We don't have mics or anything. So hopefully you guys keep watching
us to be Joe Rogan or what? I know.
If you guys keep watching and we get viewership up, we really appreciate it. And then hopefully, eventually, if it's worth it,
take it to the next level,
and we'll invest more into it and make it the sound quality and everything should go up. Hopefully. Yeah. So
let's jump right in.
Let's dive into it.
Jump in. So I guess the first thing, or the first topic I could say, Brian brought up. He works for, let's call it a municipality. He's been there for many, many years, and he's had other businesses that have not worked out because he's trying to, which a lot of people are, they're nervous about taking the plunge into entrepreneurship, starting their own business. just because it's the security of the 40 hours.
Yep.
You know, but when you're theoretically working for the man, you're getting your 40 hours. And really at the end of the day, that's all you get. You're not necessarily expanding yourself. So a quote that I live by, it's from Andrew Carnegie, quote that I live by, and every decision in business I make, I live by this quote. And he says, put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket to make sure nobody kicks it over. And that's something that I really truly live by when I decided to start my business or other avenues of acquiring other businesses throughout the years. That's 100% what I've done is I've jumped in with both feet and I haven't looked back. And Brian, this is my suggestion to you. Business is hard, you know, and before we started filming here, Jess and I were talking about it's wintertime here in California, you know, guys are quitting and it's a tough business.
Yeah.
And Brian, if you don't jump in with both feet, if you stay on the sidelines, you keep one foot in your cush job and one foot trying to dabble in other businesses, the other businesses will always get too hard and you'll always revert back to your comfortable position.
Yeah, if you're not all in one thing,
Yep.
You're not all in on anything. So it's what a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. So with entrepreneurship, you write your own paycheck, you know, and Brian's talking a lot about trying to replace his income. Don't talk about replacing your income, talk about doubling your income or tripling your income or quadrupling your income. I mean, I look a lot, and that's why I think for me, entrepreneurship and sales are really synonymous. Because if you're in sales and you're selling the right product, you believe in the product, you write your own paycheck. Same thing with entrepreneurship. If you believe in your business, you believe in your product, you are your best salesperson.
Right.
So, you know, so that's, you know, that's just the baby.
Give it 100%.
Dive in.
If you're gonna do it, do it. If not, if you don't feel comfortable not doing it, then stay with your 40-hour week. If that's where your mindset is and you want to do that, then do that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
But if you do have an opportunity or someone wanted to go into business with you, starting any crack fill business, a paving business, whatever it is that you're getting into, then if you want to do it, just do it. And then you could always, I mean, if it doesn't work out, you could always go do something else.
Right. Well, the thing I always ask myself when I look at these scary ventures, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, really, at the end of the day, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
What is the worst that could happen? It doesn't work. At least you tried. I mean, I'm trying to think of the Einstein quote, you know, people that have never failed have never done anything.
That's right.
People that have never failed have never taken a risk.
Right.
They've never done anything different. So, yeah. So, you know, starting out with that, I mean, that would be my number one recommendation.
The word entrepreneur means risk taker, if I'm not mistaken.
From
I think
derivative of Latin or something.
Yeah. It's
French. I mean, it's very appropriate.
It means risk taker.
That's
so
exactly.
You got to take the risk.
You got it. Yeah, you got to take the risk. And another question, and this is great for both Justin and I. Best way to find work. I mean, this guy Brian, starting out, not having any clients at all. What do you suggest?
That's the hardest thing, and it is a daunting task. So yeah, that's absolutely correct. But what I would say is start with friends and family. You got to say, hey, I'm doing this venture. Who do you know? Who do you know? You got to go to the people you know first, and it's friends and family. So friends might know somebody that needs a driveway or needs a little patch job, and that's where you start. Go from there.
Yeah.
You just take off, and then from there, if you can build your business and have a nice calling card, hey, I did this driveway, I did that driveway. Mm-hmm. Then you'll be able to go to a property management company, drop off a business card. You got to start meeting people that own property, and you have to know people that manage facilities. So whether it's a big corporation or someone, ask your friends and family, hey, somebody that you know might know somebody somewhere that works as a facilities manager or a school or something. That's where the jobs come from. So you got to find those people. Yeah. And you got to knock on their doors. Cold calling is not easy, but I mean, if you know somebody, then that's kind of your foot in the door to a certain degree.
Correct. So and cold calling can actually be quite scary. I mean, I remember when I started my company, I grew up in Santa Maria, California, and I literally got a stack of business cards that we ordered from Office Depot and a whole box of 10,000 of them cost $50. You know, they weren't anything special. And I literally walked up and down Broadway, you know, and you being from Santa Barbara, that would be like you just walking up and down State Street, and just every business. And the thing is, the thing is that it creates a buzz. People like, you know, it's human nature, I think, for people to want to save money. They want superior products. They want them at the best rates. They want great service. And there's nothing that excites people more than a new business. But within that, they expect, if they're going to take a chance on Brian, if they're going to take a chance on Scott Ramsey, Justin Rodriguez being a new business, if they're going to take a chance, they want something in return. They're expecting a little bit of a discount. Now, I know you told me at breakfast this morning, you told me the story about that dirt guy. Tell Brian about that.
When he was going into his business, he just did prices kind of low just to get market share with the people that he knew. With his dad had the business before, but he was bidding with these guys again. His dad only had a few clients that would keep him busy throughout the years. So he expanded a little bit by going to different contractors, cutting their pads, doing the underground work, and the pipes and utilities.
Your friend wanted to take it to the next level.
Exactly, and he did. And what happened was he just did the jobs for as cheap as possible. I mean, you're always kind of bidding competitively no matter what.
Sure.
But, you know, he got his jobs, and then as he got the quality and people knew who he was, then not his prices go up a whole lot, but he was able to creep his prices up and make more money off of it. Mm-hmm. And the people know this guy is the guy that I'm going to use because he gets the job done. He does it accurately, correctly, and I don't have to worry about him. I can trust him.
Sure.
So that's important.
Yeah.
Quality of work. So
exactly right.
I think that's
so. I mean, and just going down the list, best way to find work. I just made some notes for myself. Cards, just giving out cards.
Yeah, even if
people need to know you're in business. They need to know.
Even if you're like a coffee shop, sometimes they have those like prizes at the end of the month. Put them there. Put them up on the pin board. You could leave them cards up on pin boards at coffee shops, sandwich shops. I know I've seen that. Like you just, I've done that 1,000 times. Like, you know what? There's not that many cards on the wall. I'll put it here.
Sure.
Someone, hey, I need a paving guy.
Right. So, well, and this is part of me kind of giving up trade secrets, and I'll let it out. But it drives me crazy when, and I don't know why it drives me crazy, but I should embrace it. But it drives me crazy when I see my competitors and they have a logo on the size of this huge F-250 pickup truck, and they have a logo that you can't see from 3 feet away.
Yeah.
Brian, and that would be my suggestion, whatever vehicle you're driving, you're estimating, as soon as you decide to jump into this thing, hire somebody to come up with a really good logo. Your car is your billboard. Yep. People will see this thing, and you know, have it as big as possible, as visual as possible, and so they remember.
And there's graphic designs companies all over the place, and you could just hire a local one, and they could help you.
Well, I'm sure if you know, starting out, you're always on a budget. You know, and I'm sure in Oregon there's Craigslist. I'm sure. Is there Craigslist in Oregon?
Sure,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm sure there's, you know, because I did early on. I hired a guy. He did a little trifold brochure for me. He went to Cal Poly, doing graphics design, and somehow through a friend of a cousin of an uncle of a brother or something, I met this guy. And he needed some cash during the summertime. And I said, hey, I'll, you know, pay you to come up with a trifold thing. He did a great job. And I think I used that until I met Shane. And then Shane went through and redesigned everything.
And the trifold is good because you can leave it with your customer. Yeah, this is who we are. Yeah. This is where we're located. These are the services we provide. And this is what's in our wheelhouse. And you know, we're here to offer that for you guys.
Exactly right. So management companies are always good. And one thing, and I wrote down nature here, and I already hit on it a little bit, just by the nature of, Brian, you starting your own company, that will attract business. And what I mean by that, the old cliche is, you build it and they'll come. Yeah. You know, I remember something that hits home for me when I decided to start doing our own oil spreading in 2005. And I don't know how this happened, because, you know, I keep things close vested, you know, tight vested, until I'm ready to release it unto the world. And when I put in my order to Bearcat for my first oil truck, I hadn't even got the truck, and I was already getting calls for oil spreading. How does that happen? I don't know. I don't know how it happens. It's the weirdest thing. So you throw it out there.
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So now jumping into sales, question is how do you get customers? And this kind of segues into, Brian, you give somebody a business card, they have to like and trust you.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody doesn't like and trust you, you'll never get the sale. No matter how cheap you are, and I hate to use that word, no matter how economical you are, no matter how cheap you are, no matter how cut rate we are, you're never going to get a job unless they like and trust you.
I think a point in this is do what you know also. So if you're confident selling seal coat jobs or crack fill job, if you know how to do patching, I'm not sure what your exact skill set is, but sell what you know and know if that builds confidence. So if you know you can do something really well, that's what you got to sell, because you know you can do it. You can talk about it till, like how we do right now. We talk about paving till the sky turns red. So I mean,
we live it, we bleed
I don't know
it.
what that means, but
we live it, we breathe it. We you come up with some good ones. I don't even know what they mean. I just nod my head and say, yeah.
So
Justin,
anyway,
you're right. Yeah.
So kingdom come. It doesn't matter. I could yap my gums out with paving for a long time because I've been doing it my whole adult life.
That's all basically. We do. That's all we do.
Do what you know, and then that builds confidence in sales. Because if you know it inside and out, you can talk about it and you'll sound knowledgeable. And then that's how you can present yourself to a client. Is you don't want to make stuff up. You don't want to sound like you don't know what you're talking about. That's like that's the first way.
You're not going to get work. Yeah, you're not going to get work.
So you got to present yourself well. Be friendly, courteous. Just look professional. If you don't have shirts or whatever, I wear flannels a lot of times because I just want to be casual. I don't always like wearing the same thing.
Sure.
I'm not as dedicated as you. You always have your shirts on.
I am dedicated.
Just look presentable and.
The thing is, we talked about it at breakfast this morning, and I'm glad you brought that up because I made a comment this morning that, Brian, when you start out, or all us guys that are just starting out, and your little tiny mom and pa, you have to present yourself as if you're a big guy.
Yeah.
But then once you get to the big guy level,
you got to present yourself.
Then you have to present as your small mom and pa.
Because people know that when you're a big company, you're kind of a heartless corporation, and you don't give the time of day for a small thing. But when you're a small company, you can, because that's the only job you're doing. That's your customer. You're doing the work. They see you doing the work firsthand. But when you have a big crew and guys showing up, you sell the job, and it's not you who's on the site, then the people go, oh, wait, do these guys know what they're doing? So you really have to understand where you're at in your business. But yeah, presenting yourself as a big company shows confidence.
Correct. Yeah.
If you're a small company,
sure.
Yeah, I remember my dad did stuff like that too. He's like, hey, I'm a big company. He had a lot of employees.
Yeah.
But he presented himself well.
Sure.
That's how you sell the jobs.
Well, and it's just like I said, going back a few steps, gaining the like and trust of the customer at any level, And Brian, you're right now your sites are, you're looking at driveways, you're looking at small things to do on the weekend. Well, if you jump in with both feet, you'll be amazed at how the next thing you'll get the opportunity for a shopping center.
Right.
Then you're looking at 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 square feet, and it's a little overwhelming, but that's the progression.
I don't know why I'm reverting back to this, but it's the same thing. So if you don't jump in with both feet, that shopping center job, that opportunity, if you have another job that you're doing at the same time, you can't focus on that opportunity. So if you take your time to do one thing, whether it's your 40-hour-a-week job, that's what you do, then that's what you do. But if you're going to do this, then I'd recommend just focusing on this, because it will not manifest itself. You have to make it work. Correct. So that shopping center job might come up, but you got to go there maybe 2 or 3 times to meet with the client, because they idea changes. They want to know where the handicap stops.
20 times.
Exactly.
You might have to go 20 times.
I got a job coming up next week, and I've been working with a guy. It's not a huge job. It's a shared common driveway, but I've been working with this guy for almost 2 years, trying to get this job. It's a decent job, but hey, the guy had to get all his neighbors on board, and then the house sold, and it was a new neighbor. Then he had to get him on board, and I never once just said, this guy's wasting my time. I'm going to walk away from it. Had I had another job or something else, I wouldn't have that job.
It would have been easy to walk away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't this guy's wasting my time, because I've gone and met with him 5 times and nothing's come out of it. But hey, now I've met the guys way more than that, and now it's a job. So,
Well, and I tell young people this, young sales guys, veteran sales guys, entrepreneurs, or starting out entrepreneurs. I say the same thing, and I know it's hard. And a lot of people say, well, Scott, you have a job, you have a business. It's easy for you to say, well, there was a point in time where I didn't have a job, I didn't have a business. But if you can figure out a way to leave money aside, forget about the money. The money will always come. No matter what. The money will always come. But a lot of people base their decisions on the money part of it. Well, money can really skew decisions you make. Leave the money part alone. Forget about that. And I know we took like 4 steps back.
Yeah, but focus on
jump
your
in and
customers.
focus. Yeah.
Focus on your customers.
And so that segues into the next thing. My suggestion is, because I know Brian brought up questions about pricing, competition. Forget about the competition. Me personally, I don't know what my competition is doing. By default, I see trucks driving around. By default, I see jobs that I didn't get. It pisses me off. Oh well. Yeah. It is what it is.
But I've said to you, we're competitors in the same area, and I've always we became friends over time. But I always said there's always a lot of work out there. There's always plenty of work to go around.
There is.
And I focus on my customers and my jobs. I don't know. Maybe you gave a bid to one of my customers also, and they're weighing the difference.
Sure.
But as long as I give them my attention, hey, this is me. This is what I'm offering. Take it or leave it. But I'll get some of them.
Right.
You're gonna get some of them, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, but it's only human nature for me to drive by a job I bid and see your guys out there and me get pissed off about it. I mean, it's only human nature. I mean, yeah.
You do like, I lost that one.
Yeah. Well,
it depends how hard you were working on it too.
but it is also good to when I lose a job, it makes me happy to see that it went to a word, and I use this word a lot, that it went to a worthy adversary, because I do lose work. And I shake my head and say, oh my, the customer is not going to get a good shake.
Yeah.
And I just shake my head and say, man, I know I can't compete on that level, because I'm not going to sell somebody a 2-inch overlay and give them a 1/2 inch.
Right.
I'm just not going to do that.
Right.
So there's no way to compete on that level. So when I lose a job to you, it makes me happy, because
Thank you,
I know that they're going to get a good job, and and I gotta brush up on my sales techniques.
Yeah,
so.
But there's so many. The thing is, Brian, there's so many different reasons why you get and lose work. It's not just because of the competition either.
No.
You might get a job because like I said, it could be a family member and they just want to give you the job, or maybe your overhead is a lot less than a guy like Scott's or someone else like that. So maybe you got the job because you could be a little bit more competitive on the price. Maybe you got the job because everyone else was too busy, and that happens. That's why I like a really good, solid economy, because if it's a good economy and everyone's busy, then when the phone rings, if you just finished the job, you could jump on it. Mm-hmm. Like a friend of mine, he's another underground guy here in town, and he's doing a big hotel remodel up in Los Olivos, and they had some other guy lined up, but that guy got busy with some other job and they couldn't jump to it. So they called. He was the next phone call, and he goes, I just finished the job. I'm ready to go. So he just rolled his guys from one big job to the next big job. And that job was going to go to someone else, but that person got too busy with something else. So that happens. So you're going to, as long as the economy is firing, a good economy means it's good for all of us. Even though we're competitors, if everyone's busy, that's good, because we're all going to get work.
Right.
Because then there's more money.
I mean, you can't get greedy either. I mean, if Brian, if you get to the point where you're booked out for 6 months, you can't get upset when you see a competitor, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. The way I see it,
trying to keep my blood pressure low. It's like I drive by and see a job that I didn't get. It's like
sometimes it's like, that would have been a good one. That's in my wheelhouse, that job, but I'm stuck doing this job that I already committed to.
Right. Yeah.
So
be thankful for what we do have.
And exactly. Yeah. Thankful for what you have, and focus on what you have to make the money that you have. And
so the I guess the moral of this subject is forget about the competition. Focus on why you're different. What makes you different? How are you going to do a different job?
Yeah.
One line that I use a lot is, somebody asked me, well, Scott, why do I hire you over them? And I said, well, you're getting me.
Yeah.
Literally.
There you go.
They're getting me. They're not, if you hire that guy, you're not getting me.
I tell that to people a lot too. It's like, hey, I say that a lot of times when I go to a job site. I say, I'm the one bidding the job right now, and I will be here to get the guys going.
That's
I'll be
exactly
here
right.
for the quality control, and
Mhm.
I'm going to be here to make sure that you're happy. And you're not dealing with my crew; you're dealing with me.
Mhm.
So when I get there, and that's the good thing about being a smaller
Sure.
contractor, because you can give that personal one-on-one attention
That's
to your
right.
client. Especially, it's important for homeowners, facilities people to a certain degree they like that, but a lot of times it's the homeowner or someone
Sure.
that has intimate relationship with
Yeah.
whatever project they're doing.
Sure.
They'd like that.
Well, and that goes back to they like and trust you. They get a comfort. Like Brian is selling the job. Brian's going to be out here. Brian's going to be on the end of a broom. Brian's going to be crack filling. Brian, that's a.
Be prepared. It's a lot of work.
Brian is, but Brian may be a little bit higher too.
Yeah.
Well, but that ensures Brian's here. That ensures they're going to get a good job. Would they be willing to pay a little bit more for it?
Yeah.
Of course they will.
You know what?
Which goes right in.
Well, really quick, I want to say before you go into this, understand why we're doing this, because we have value in what we do. What we're doing, tell to the clients. This is kind of a random tangent, but I was thinking about this. Make sure if let's say you do dive into becoming a paving contractor or an asphalt maintenance contractor, understand that you have the accounts at the asphalt plant or the seal coat suppliers. You have the special equipment to put the material down. You have the knowledge about how to prep, clean, and install the product correctly.
Correct.
You have the manpower or the know-how to do that. The client doesn't have that. So you have to make sure that you understand you're giving someone value. You have to know that what we do is a valuable product, and the time that we put into this is what they're paying for. Because a lot of times, like we've talked about in the seal coat episodes in the past, is I go up to a job site where someone called me because they want to seal coat their driveway, and they thought they could do it on a weekend, and they have a huge driveway and they have like a little corner of it done, and they realize, oh, this is hard work. This is hard work. And then my guys come in with a big tanker, the spray one and the brooms,
the big
3 guys, and they do it in 3 hours, and it would have taken those people 4 weekends to do it.
That's
so they don't know what that tank, that 500-gallon seal coat tank, even that's a smaller one on a trailer, that's a valuable piece of equipment, because those other guys are going to have to go 15 times back to Home Depot to get Henry's in a can and do it themselves with the broom. They don't have the blower, they don't have the sweeper, they don't have the cleaner. So make sure you understand the value that you're giving to someone, because what you do is valuable, and that's why we have a business. We provide this service. So make sure that's really important. I think. I don't know if it's a random tangent. But.
No, it's not a random tangent, because that segues nicely into the next thing. Brian, you specifically asked about 20 cents a square foot, and I'm just going to briefly talk about that. I mean, I've never looked. I've been doing this for a long time, as all our viewers know. There are no two parking lots alike, and there's no. And I get calls, or my girls get calls in the office all the time. Justin, you get calls all the time. Hey, just give me a ballpark. Well, there is no. How rough is the surface? How much cracking? How much pothole patching?
How is access? Where am I going to park my equipment? Is it up at the top of a mountain? Are you down in a canyon? Where are you at?
Are we talking about 2,300 square feet? Are we talking about 230,000 square feet?
What time of year is it? Yeah. Is it cold? Do we have enough hours in the day? Can we do?
Too many variables.
Way too many variables. Is it December? I have to get the seal coat done in December. There's a little bit of a window of clear weather, but the students are gone, and I have to do it now. Hey, we don't recommend doing it, but I've done a seal coat in December when there's a string of 75-degree days in the middle of the day. You only have it sustained for 2 or 3 hours, but hey, this is the only time the customer can do it, so we do it. But that's more of a premium, because guess what? It's going to stay wet a lot longer.
It's super risky.
It's risky.
It's risky.
So there you go. So that's a reason to bump it up, because you might have to go back. You might have to get some air blowers, dry it out, because the shade, there's a spot in the shade that doesn't dry right away, and you don't want to have a slip and fall hazard. So there's all kinds of things that go on.
Shane brought up a good question this morning. What does seal coat sell for in Oregon? I have no idea. I know in California, delivered to my yard, it's like $2 and $2.05, $2.10 a gallon, something like that. How much is it in Oregon? I don't know.
You have a lot of rain up there too, so I don't even know where your seal coat season is.
I don't know. So too many variables. I mean, just simply, Brian, I don't know that I would put just a set price on your seal coat. When you're looking at a job, you've got your hard costs, which is the slurry, the crack fill, your labor, your fuel. Those are your hard costs. Then you've got your overhead costs, which a guy starting out might be as little as 5%, might be as much as 10%. Bigger company
That's like
me,
your office equipment, your computers, all the stuff.
Shop repairs,
yep.
Vehicle repairs. My overhead's a little bit higher. I usually figure in 17 to 20% overhead on my jobs. And then after you compute that, then you've got the cost of your job, and then how much do you want to make? You want to make 10%, 20%, 30%. Then you just, so my jobs, we go line by line. Here's our hard costs, overhead, profit. Here it is. Take it or leave it. Moving right into, and we're already at 30 minutes. Down payment. Brian, you talked about down payment. This is something you need to look into for your state. California is kind of no on down payments. It's either 10% or $1,000, whichever's less, just because there's been, people that get monies up front and they don't finish the job and they're chasing the guy down forever.
Gypsies.
The gypsies. Yeah, don't get Justin going on that or we'll never finish this episode. So anyway, so check in with your, whatever your laws state. And this leads me into my next thing that I want to talk about that will help you out. If your state allows you to get a deposit, I encourage it, because starting out, cash is king. Well, when you get to be a big company, cash is king. But, and I've said this in other episodes, a business is only as good as the cash it generates.
Yep.
At the end of the day, a business needs to generate cash to stay in business. How much cash are you generating? So cash flow is super important. You starting out, Brian, the chances of you getting credit lines on materials, probably pretty slim. So you're going to have to pay for 500 gallons of slurry up front. That could be $1,000. So if you can get money up front, I encourage it. Plus, there's a little bit of a psychological nature here. If a customer is a little dubious about giving you 20% down or 25% down, how is it going to be when you are there to collect the rest of the 100% of the job? If they won't give you 25% up front, so that's just word to the wise. Here in California, Justin and I, we're a little bit landlocked because we can't get any monies up front.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even worth collecting $1,000, for the fear of breaking contract, and then that just gives Sally homeowner something else to say, well, I gave you money up front and that wasn't legit, and so therefore I'm not paying you anything.
Right.
So
exactly.
And
just look at your local state laws and how you do contracting in your local area.
And then Brian, you brought up how do you bill, how do you quote, and Justin and I, we use the same program, which I'm sure a bajillion other contractors
almost everybody's small business
almost
uses.
I just use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is 20 years ago it wasn't so user friendly to do searches, but QuickBooks is a very, very valuable tool.
It's very easy to use.
Easy to use. Get QuickBooks, and I know they actually have like mobile editions to where you can actually take these mobile editions out to job sites and have the customers approve them right there on the spot. I don't use that version. I get all the information, go back to my office, work up the quote, and then email it off, or fax it off, or present it to the customer.
It's almost all email now. I mean, fax is very few and far between nowadays.
But yeah, it's once again having a logo, having a proposal. Something written out on a piece of paper is kind of old school. Maybe 20 years ago that was acceptable. These days it's not really accepted. Something printed. If Oregon requires you to have a contractor's license, make sure you have your contractor's license on there. It's just a matter of building confidence. You show up with a proposal and a Google map that shows, and the Google Earth is free now, with a Google map that shows the highlighted areas. Okay, Saturday we're doing phase 1, Sunday we're doing phase 2, Monday we're doing phase 3. People like to see that.
Yep, absolutely. Presentation is everything. And wait, that's a good point. Does Brian, I don't remember in the email, did he have a contractor's license? Because that's step number 1. If you want to be legitimate, go get your contractor's license.
Yeah.
In your
maybe
certain states I don't know.
Certain states they're not required. So I don't know. It's something to look.
Regulated,
something to look into. Yeah, something to look into. Warranty. I put a 3-year warranty on my jobs.
I do 1 year.
1 year warranty. once again, going back to California, if you are a licensed contractor, no matter what kind of job you do, you have to provide a 12-month warranty.
Yep.
Even, and this is something that I have to get through my sales guys, is we can't do anything inferior. Even if somebody says, hey, we just want to paint it black, or the problem is, I mean, we have to meet trade standards. We have to warranty that thing for a year. I take it to the next step, and I say, okay, I'm not doing any work unless we can warranty it for 3 years. So
that's a really good point, because if someone wants to, like, say, paint it black, or just that's a really beat up old surface, you got to pick and choose the work that you are going to do. So if you're starting out and you see some old beat up driveway, you know, make sure you're gonna want to do the job and do it correctly, because if it's a bad beat up old driveway and they just want to put a seal coat on it and it needs an overlay, or at bare minimum an overlay, or it needs to get ripped out and repaved, you know, don't be afraid to tell them, you know what, I can't do this job. This needs new structure. You need to repave this completely. So it's okay to stand your ground and say, I don't want to. I want to do a good job. I don't want to be a.
Well, and I think that's one. That was another question that Brian had later on, and I'll jump back into that. So we talked about warranty, and then Brian, you brought up go-backs or touch-ups or follow-ups or whatever, and in your email you looked at it as kind of a negative connotation, or it was a negative thing, but you got to embrace the go-backs, because go-backs are kind of a way of us following up on the job. Somebody calls you about a scuff mark or a crack, it's super 99.999% of the time Sally homeowner says, hey, come back out, and it's a matter of keeping a 5-gallon bucket of seal in the back of your truck. No problem, Sally, I'll take care of it right now. And it's just a matter of, oh, Brian, you're a hero.
And go backs,
you're a hero.
And go backs are very common, because I think people, one, they just want to see you again, and they want to be made to feel good that, like, hey, this guy stood by his work.
Right.
And a lot of times they're really easy little fixes.
Right.
But
and then sometimes, like you said, they just want to stand out there and hey, Brian,
just want to hang out with
Brian, are you happy with this job? Well, Brian better be happy with it, because he was on there putting the material down.
Exactly.
And so,
hey, this is what it's supposed to look like. And actually, that's another point. Managing people's expectations in this business is one of the most challenging things I think we have to deal with, because people have an idea in their head of what asphalt is supposed to look like.
Sure.
But we're doing several different things. We did a seal coat and a crack fill on an old beat up lot. Hey, this doesn't look like new asphalt. You repaved it. I'm like, no, we seal coated and you signed a seal coat job.
Correct.
Seal coat is analogous to a black paint on a surface.
Correct.
We're not putting a new layer of asphalt over this. So,
well, and I've heard that
managing people's expectations. Be prepared. Try to, when you go into things, go in with an open mind and try to say, let them know what you're doing and what it will look like. Because if they're unawares, they think you're repaving something and you're just doing a seal coat, they're going to be in for a shock. So,
well, and I'm actually impressed with us today, because this thing has just perfectly gone into one subject to the next subject. And this perfectly goes right into the next subject. Is Brian's question is, hey, let us know about some novice mistakes. And my first note is, make sure you and the customer are on the same page. Because if a customer's expecting an overlay and you show up and throw some seal coat down, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. And Justin, you hit it right on the head. It's like you go seal coat a roadway and they're like, well, Scott, wait a second. This doesn't look like that job you did down at Carl's Jr. Well, no, that Carl's Jr. was a complete removal and replacement.
And they paid the money for it. That was an $80,000 paving job. It's like this was a $1,500 seal coat.
Correct.
So,
but a lot of that can be averted, diverted, whatever we want to say, just by being on the same page with your customer. Ask a lot of questions. You know, in sales, a rule of thumb: you got one mouth and two ears. Listen double the time than you talk.
Absolutely, listening is so important. That's what I always tell people when I go up to, or when I talk about sales. I go up to the customer and I just, what is it that you need? And the one thing that throws you off is like, well, you're the professional. You tell me what it needs. And I say, then I'll go into that. What kind of budget are you looking at? Are you going to keep the house? Are you selling the house?
But you still ask questions.
You
still ask questions.
I ask the questions.
But even though they said,
hey, a lot of times
you're the professional, you tell me. Well, hey, wait a minute. Well, yeah, sure. Let's talk about budget.
Most of the time, they do have an idea of what they want.
They do.
And then you say, okay, they want to do a seal coat on this. It's beyond seal coat. And this just happened to me a couple weeks ago. That job we were talking about where our competitor was doing the homeowners association. This job, a client of mine I've had for a long time. He's a nice old guy. He has a little ranch out down south of here. And he just wanted to seal coat this thing. And we were cleaning the lot. And I was like, okay, he just wants to seal it. This guy doesn't have a lot of money. But in good conscience, I could not seal coat that driveway. We were cleaning it and it just kept falling apart and falling apart and falling apart. And he's like, well, it's okay. I just want to get together. His son wanted to put concrete down eventually. But I said, look, I'm not going to seal coat this. Talk to your son. I'm going to give you a really good, inexpensive price to mill it down and resurface it. So you get, another 15 to 20 year fix on this driveway. Sure. And that's what he did. And it turned in from this little job that was going to be a headache and an eyesore and I knew it was going to be a problem to a winner. So my dad always said, take lemons and turn them into lemonade.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, and this is, and so, yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, and that's the reason, that's the way I've really been able to build my business is by asking a lot of questions and making the customer question answers that they've gotten from other competitors. Well, Ramsey recommended an inner layer, Petromat, or they're saying we need to do 2 inches instead of 1.5 inches, or they're saying we need to dig out in front of the trash area. So if you can get the customer to question the answers, then that builds confidence.
Right.
You got them on your side again. So, and Brian, this is something as a rule of thumb, whatever business venture you decide to get into, because I can tell by your email, you've got the itch. Not that asphalt is necessarily the scratch, but I can tell you've got the itch for entrepreneurship. So I can tell you're going to do something. So no matter what business you run or start, and this is what I tell my guys all the time, the service you're providing, is it something that you would provide to yourself, to your mom, or to your grandmother? Just simply ask. Most people are not going to screw over their mom or your grandma. Is this job something you would do? So if your mom had that driveway, would you seal coat it?
Would you be proud of that?
Would you be proud to give, hey mom, come and look at hey grandma, come and look at my job? Yeah. Very simple. Ask yourself that question every time you meet a customer, and you'll never go wrong. You'll never go wrong with that.
Good point.
Going into, now we're talking about maintaining sales, maintaining the pipeline. We talked about that at breakfast this morning. Brian, the one thing the advice I can give you on this is keep the bids going. If you decide to jump in with both feet on this, keep the bids going, no matter how busy you get, because you want to keep that pipeline going. If you say, oh my God, I'm too busy, you just close the end of the pipe.
Yep.
And you will run out of work.
Those jobs like that one I'm talking about next week, we're going into a slow season, and I've been talking with this guy for 2 years now, and it's a job that's landing now at a slow time. So I'm going to have work to keep my guys busy for a few days. And that's because I kept the pipeline open. And that's a really good point. Never stop. And this could be one of the big pain, especially when you're first starting out. It could be a big pain in the butt because you're tired. You're out all day shoveling asphalt. You got to get back at night at home or wherever your office is.
Sure.
And you got to turn those bids in and turn them in promptly because people want a bid. They expect it turned around quickly. So turn a bid around quickly.
Well, and that's a funny thing. That's a funny thing about our business is seal coating, striping, paving. It's a pretty big expenditure. It's not like cleaning windows where you can pay a guy $65 an hour to come out and clean your windows. A lot of times people have to budget for these, so you're running a year behind. But what is so funny about our business is you're 100% right. We've been out working all day long, and these guys aren't going to do the job until next year. But they want the bid right now. Yep. They're in a hurry to get it right now.
But it's important.
But it's kind of a funny.
It's at the end of the day. And that's
why it's a funny thing.
That's why I like the like you were mentioning QuickBooks, like online or the mobile one. It's like because you could do it like you wake up in the middle of the night. Oh shoot, I forgot to give that bid to the guy. I do this all the time, and I'll write it up and send it off.
Sure.
When I'm in bed or something from my phone.
Right.
I can say, oh, you know what? I had it written up earlier.
Yes.
Here's the updated numbers. Boom, I send them off, and then the guy gets back to me in the morning. Hey, I got it last night. Thanks for sending it out.
Yeah, people don't care. People don't care what time.
It's an email.
People don't care what time they get emails. And I actually, get a lot of business and I get a lot of compliments. I mean, I go to the office. You guys know I'm there at 3:30 in the morning, and I'm shooting.
Like this morning.
That's when when I start texting this guy. Yeah, Ryzen, get out of bed. Get out. I've already got a half a day's worth of work in before you get out of bed. No, but a lot of people, wow, this guy's dedicated.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily. I mean, I am dedicated, obviously, but that's when I can just get a lot of peaceful work done. I get my best work done. Phones aren't ringing.
You have a clear mind too. Clear, when you wake up, you're just there
exactly
and you focus.
Right. Yep.
And you just get it done.
And so the last thing on the list was I don't remember the exact. I apologize, Brian, because I didn't write the question down. But the question had something to do with QuickBooks or the estimating software or something. I wrote QuickBooks. And we talked about
You're
that.
gonna have to do some research because QuickBooks has like different little app programs that you can attach to it that run through QuickBooks.
Right.
And like I started using a different estimating software because I didn't like how you could write your estimates through QuickBooks. It was kind of limiting. So I found that other program that we've been using. It works pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's a professional presentation that goes through.
Sure.
And but yeah, just do some research. But QuickBooks is the master program where you keep all your accounting.
Correct.
It reminds you, hey, these people haven't paid yet. These are the jobs you have outstanding. Here's jobs that people have accepted.
Well, and the one piece of advice that I can give you about whatever estimating program, because they're all about the same, and some, so I'm not very techie at all. So QuickBooks is really easy. It's simple. I've been using it for 22 years, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
But there are other programs out there that are just as good, if not better, than QuickBooks, I'm sure. But the advice that I can give you on that, and it kind of reverts back to a couple questions ago about being 12 months behind. These programs, computers, and this is the old cliche with computers are only as good as, or in this instance, QuickBooks is only as good as the information you put into it. So Brian, when you're going into doing these estimates, get as much information as you can. I mean, when I put in QuickBooks, knowing that this guy's not going to call me for 12 months to, like you said, Justin,
that's a great
2
point
years.
Because you lose phone numbers,
Correct.
You lose emails,
because you'll write it down,
and then there's a space. There's fields for the guy's website, the guy's fax number, phone number, mobile phone number, whatever you can. Get that out of your clients. Sometimes the clients they get annoyed, it's like because you're asking 20 questions, but it's good to get that information so you can contact them again, or you'll never know, they may call you back and it's like, oh yeah, I have your email in here, is this still a good email? That's it, and then you can send the bids.
And I save, I mean, people, we live in a very rural community. Well, Justin and I live in a rural community, and then we service Santa Barbara, so there's, you have the gates that are around these multi-million-dollar estates in Santa Barbara, and then here we have equestrian area and they all have gates. I mean, I store gate codes, everything. So when pictures, Google Maps, so when this guy calls me in 12 months, because I can anticipate that I'm going to be pretty busy in 12 months, at least I hope I'm busy. I hope you're going to be busy, Brian. 12 months from now, you don't have time to get back out there and requote that job. And if you don't input the information correct the first time, you're going to be chasing your tail and requoting that job all over again. So input all the information the first time. And this is a constant struggle that I have with my estimators because, when the customer finally calls,
I do that too.
When the customer finally calls, I want to just be able to print it all out, make sure no prices have changed, which, nothing's really changed in the last 5 years.
It usually stays pretty consistent. It's not a huge difference. But having all that information is important because what happens is you'll get an email from someone that they send you their contact information, but then they'll also communicate with you through text message. And then sometimes they'll leave a voicemail. And then they have it in 3 different places. And you're like, I remember that writing that guy's email down on a piece of paper somewhere. And I can't find it. And then you find it in a voicemail or a text message thread or something. You have to scroll through it. So it's really important to stay organized and QuickBooks helps you do that. But yeah, trying to stay organized is very important.
And all of these programs these days, they allow you to scan in material as a PDF attachment. And that's your material. That's your material forever. So
is that the end of it? Is that pretty much?
That was all.
The only thing I was thinking about.
That was all.
I don't know your skill set, Brian. I don't know what you know as far as. I don't know if you're a good mechanic because I think being able to be good hands-on and fix things. Like my friend Jimmy Wheeler, I remember the gear broke on the slurry truck, and he's under the truck fixing it himself. And I think it was at the
casino
job.
Casino when you was on my job.
And it was your job, and I remember him on the thing, and he had an extra sprocket or whatever, and he was in there. He knew how to fix it himself. So that's kind of a handy thing to have in this business, because we work with mechanics, machines that are really hard on themselves, like a plate tamper. Things break down a lot. So if you're good at fixing that, that's a plus in this business. Or having someone that you know that you can trust that can fix things with you is a big bonus. The other thing I want to say is it's okay to start small. So if you don't have all this money to go out and buy a $100,000 paving machine, used one that is, a $50,000 roller, all that stuff, it's okay to start small, patching, sealing, crack filling, and that's how one of our local competitors started that way. It was just like, I know he was just a seal coat guy, and now he's got a big company. He's kind of the bane of our existence, but I'm just kidding. But that being said,
that's how I started.
That's how everyone starts. Is small. I
started out just striping,
and then
I didn't even start out seal coating, not patching, not just striping.
Really? I didn't know that about you.
Just striping. One truck, one trailer, and
patching. If you have a little truck and you can get a load of asphalt, you know how to put the tack down and do the patching. You could get an infrared unit. That's a good way to start, because it's not that expensive.
You're getting into the exotics now.
Yeah, but that's what a lot of guys do in cold weather places like Oregon. It might be a useful tool for him.
Sure.
Because you could reheat an area, patch it. So starting small, thinking outside the box, and using the tools at your disposal, that limits your manpower, how much you can do. It actually opens up doors for you, because you could do a lot less if you have the right tools, or you could do a lot more. I'm sorry, if you have the right tools, not less. You can do more with the right tools with less people. Is what I'm saying.
Sure.
So starting small is good, and trying to manage that, and then grow from there.
Well,
that's the best.
And a good point that Justin brings up is we don't know what kind of skill set. I know in your email, Brian, you mentioned that you thought the asphalt business might be a good business for you to get into, to supplement your income to where you could build a business. We don't know what kind of experience you have, but if you're planning on doing this in the summer of 2021, my suggestion would be try to go get a weekend job in as many different positions within a seal coat company as you can. Maybe call a local guy and say, hey, I need some weekend work, for cash or something, and go push a broom around.
Yeah.
Go push a broom around. And then you'll learn, okay, what do you like about what this company does? What don't you like about, maybe one company puts down slurry with squeegees, but you think you could be more effective with brooms, or if you want to buy a spray unit like Justin has, or like I have, that'll just give you a little bit of advantage, and then you'll learn how to clean, prep. A lot of this stuff you can learn just by simply watching these kinds of videos, or just simply Google searching.
And we've been doing this for a long time, but we make mistakes too, and we learn from our mistakes constantly, and you gotta just learn from those mistakes, and that's just something.
Well, mistakes. Somebody that I love and admire says the mistakes we make is the tuition that we have to pay for what we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. All the mistakes I make, that's the price I have to pay for what I don't know.
It's always a learning process.
It's always a learning. Even these podcasts are learning. We're learning, and we talk to
like our scientists falling down.
Yeah,
he's getting messed up. So
I think that's all I have.
Yeah. So anyway, Brian, hopefully that helps. We're just this is just our experience. Just try to go out there and learn from your own experiences, and
we're here from you. Yeah. Any other questions? Hit us back.
Yeah. Let us know. Appreciate it. Until next time, guys, we'll see you down the road.
Happy holidays.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.